Hey guys, what is going on? It's Jay Campbell, of course, the author of the old school definitive TRT book, manual, TOT Bible, the ultimate guide to live a fully optimized life. And I'm very excited today to be joined in studio by my very good longtime friend now. I think we've been friends for almost 4 years, Russ Scala. Russ, how are you, brother?
Hey man, good to see you, Jay.
Good to see you too. So Russ, guys, is the founder of Scala Precision Health. He's a long time guy in the community, man. He knows everybody. He's one of the smartest minds in the field. He is a true American biohacker, which is actually the title of his newest book. And we're going to be talking a lot about his book today. But it's actually an amazing book. Full disclosure, I would have already read it by now, but unfortunately I didn't get it ordered on Amazon the way I should have. I have skimmed it. It's very, very deep. Anybody in the optimization space should be reading this book. Okay, it's literally the story of Russ's life, how he got into the space, all the things he's done, all the things he's continuing to do with the Precision Health Institute. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to go deep. But like I do, and I've had Russ on the podcast, I think twice now, so this is his third time. I always ask, Russ, what's going on in your personal life, man? Just, give me an update.
Well, personal life right now?
Personal life, brother. What's going on?
Well, let's see. I just, I started that book about a year ago when I went through that trauma when I lost my folks.
Right.
And I used the book as a form of therapy because I wanted to write about my evolution on how I got started in this business of helping people and how it led me from working in the emergency room in high school to being the first paramedic to hit the streets, to attach to a SWAT team, and then all the way up to becoming a high-level interventionist that you and I always discuss now. So this is all I've been focusing on, bro. I don't have a family. I do this 24/7. I help people. I answer questions, as you know, and I've got a client base here in my hometown of Winter Park. I partnered with a financial service company where I'm helping their high net worth people get out of the railroad track. So this is kind of my life.
Awesome, man. Well, as far as the partnership with that company and the people you're working with, so do you feel like you're working with a different, like a divergent sect of humans that you've been working with previously since you partnered with that company?
Well, I think, dealing with the higher net worth people, one of the things that's easy is a lot of these guys that run multi-million-dollar companies, they understand that they got to stay in the game. So they're open to nootropics. They're open to hormone replacement therapy. They're open for me to do stool testing on them. And they do a due diligence on me, or they have somebody do a due diligence on me. And since I'm in Winter Park, Florida, and my family's been here since the 60s, I could get through a lot of doors where I wouldn't get through if I went out of town. Because first thing people say is, "You're not a doctor," and I'm like, "Yeah, obviously, yeah, that's cool." But read some of our content,
right?
Okay, so while I have to wipe the slate clean, why can my team deal with MS patients, Jay? Why can we stop dementia in its tracks? Why can I develop a high-level brain rehab protocol with two of the leading neurologists sitting right next to me? And that's what the book will walk you through. And the thing about it is, I didn't do anything really, I didn't do anything that anybody else can't do. I had a passion for the physiology. I wanted to save lives. I was injecting drugs into people on emergency scenes. Then with that experience and knowledge, when I became a triathlete racing around the country, I applied those same techniques, right? So that's kind of how the evolution started. And then working on the SWAT team, I saw what stress does to the body, all the cops, all the firemen, all the emergency room doctors. I wasn't going to counseling. I was drinking. I may have been an alcoholic back then. I know I was drinking every day because I needed the elevation of serotonin on my off time to deal with all the shit I was seeing on the scene. So now the first guys through the door, cops, firemen, war veterans, I click with them right away. Just because of my history,
Right. Well, so you have a fascinating background, and we're going to talk about the book in a second. But the high net worth individual thing is a good thing because I just had a podcast with Dr. Rob Komenarek up in Springboro, Ohio, and he's definitely a thought leader. 22 years he's been prescribing testosterone to patients. Brilliant mind. Very opposite of most of the so-called accepted practices that are out there. But he talked about that. He said, that's the only person I want to work with. I want to work with a person that can afford me, who's willing, like you said, to do all the battery of the tests that are necessary, brain speed, insulin sensitivity. I mean, we can go on and on and on. Like you said, scatology, the stools testing and sampling. But the reality is that not all those people are out there, right? Like they're the outliers, right? Like the high level, the high net worth people, the CEOs of their companies. And I guess sometimes what freaks me out is like, you and I are trying to like bring optimization to the mainstream, and we're doing a good job. But then, when I sit back and I think, well, how many people in the mainstream can really afford, knowing how broken the sick care medical system is, which you know about way better than I do, can really afford the stuff that we're, bringing to the masses? I mean, do you believe we're 10 years away from having the optimization stuff that you and I live with?
I know. I like what you're saying. We talked about this last time. I do the high level stuff because it gets me out of bed. It's challenging. You know what I mean? It makes me dig deep. It's not like I'm just helping somebody lose weight. I mean, I really like to be challenged because that's just how my brain works. But I do believe teaching people the basics of biology, like you're doing with your content, like I do with the Russ Scala YouTube channel, I think that's going to create a viral market of people asking their doctor questions like, hey doc, why are you putting me on an SSRI? I heard Jay Campbell say that, testosterone elevates dopamine levels. So why don't we try testosterone first, or maybe thyroid, before you put me on a drug that damages the prefrontal cortex? That's where I see content as being the new oil, what we're doing. And then we can reach out, and then we can educate those people. And then that, there's something powerful and transforming about asking a question. When people listen to you or I talk or have your book in your hands, and they go into a doctor and they say, this is what I want to try, well, what's the doctor going to say? And I think that's going to happen more and more.
Yeah, I mean, it's happening. I mean, I guess sometimes I just kind of get lost because we're doing so much, right? We're pushing so much content out there. We're constantly exposing it to people. Sometimes I just get it's just a little bit, but I get disenchanted with the idea that the system is so broken, as you know, and it's only getting worse now. And then clearly we're also seeing a disparity between have and have nots. So sometimes I kind of get weirded, thinking about like, well, all this great stuff we're bringing out there, like who can really afford it, right? Because the average person in America today relies on their benefits, right? And the average benefit doctor is not the type of doctor that you and I are going to hire or work with, Russ, right?
Right. Yeah, one of the things I think is, we got about 250 high-level pharmaceutical drugs currently on the market right now, and the ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting impact more metabolic pathways than any drug on the market.
Combined.
Just that knowledge alone, I mean, holy shit, right? Hey, you want to put the brakes on diabetes, heart disease, dementia, and obesity? Well, guess what? Lower insulin levels and inflammation, folks.
Right.
You could start that in your house tomorrow. In fact, you could go shopping and start the diet tomorrow without even calling your physician or your nutritionist, because they're going to put you on 150 carbs a day. Boom. Right. So now you got an older person in your family that's losing their fucking keys, and you're seeing a family member deteriorate, and you can tweak their diet. Now, obviously, you got to be careful. Let's take a page out of the book called Potatoes Not Prozac. Don't cut the carbs out too quick in grandma's meals because she's going to get cranky. So, I mean, do it diligently, but the information is there, man. I mean,
I love that Potatoes Not Prozac.
It's a great book.
It's mind-blowing, man, that, you're right. I mean, it's all out there. I know the confusion, though, too, is that people become overwhelmed and information overload because they don't know who to trust, right? Like they don't know what area and where they're getting the information is, the best or the most trustworthy. Like you said, you brought up two good points. You brought up intermittent fasting and ketogenic dieting. Both serve equal practices. Both are extremely similar, especially if you fast long hours. You're basically already ketogenic or get close to it. But you're right. I mean, these things are out there. It's just that mainstream medicine, which still controls, the mind from a manipulation standpoint of people's thought processes, aren't really pushing that, right? But obviously, there's guys like you out there that are offering that need. But I guess again, my question really becomes like, how can people like us get more people who are, quote unquote, following the traditional path of benefits? How can we impact more of them?
Well, I think you're doing it. And I think this is another area you and I don't realize because we're always in forward motion. I don't know how you feel, but if I'm not moving forward, just shoot me. So the average person, studying weddings and funerals, we know the average person knows about 120 people, 120 connections. Jay Campbell, you just helped the guy get out of the railroad tracks or helped his dad. What the fuck do you think he's going to do? He's going to tell his friends, hey, Jay Campbell told me, this, and this. And God, I saw responses of my father immediately. I think content is the new oil. I think that's what's going to go viral. I just saw an article from Rolling Stone talking about biohacking, low dosing, and you heard about this. We talked about it last time, microdosing LSD. Right, there's a place called The Third Wave, and the guy's doing consults one-on-one, taking people to the next level now. And a lot of Silicon Valley people that I know and the high-level guys I know are doing this for brain enhancement. I'm working with a lot of white hat code writers right now. And when I'm dropped into the second act of a third act play, and these guys are sick, they're on sleep medication, they're gamers, they're in front of the computer for 16 to 32 hours. I see the end result of that. So what are they going to need, Jay? You got it. They're going to need nutrition. They're going to need their hormones replaced. If they're sitting on their ass, you're going to need to get up and move a little bit. It's not rocket science what I do,
Right. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's cool. I don't know. It's like I said, I try to be really positive. I mean, obviously my book is coming out. Your book just came out. We are putting out. I mean, we are change makers. Okay, we are putting out the creme de la creme as far as like the information that people really do need to take into their lives and initiate change. It's just I sometimes still feel that the inertia, the barrier is the abject quackery that you and I see on a daily basis, and so it's like that lab coat God mentality it is slowly being broken down. I think the baby boomer generation, just to give you an aside, like majority of them, they listen to what their doctor says, right? Like I can sit with my parents or my wife's parents, and and it's her dad, her mom's dead, and my mom and dad are still alive, and my mom miraculously so. But if I tell them to do all this and they know who I am, if their doctor comes and gets in front of them, Russ, and says, I want you to take this flu shot.
Right.
They're not going to listen. Everything that I told them goes out the window.
Yeah, and anytime you're dealing with family, you know this, you need a third-party interventionist. So when I run into that situation, I try to find out who's one of their best friends that could drip science on them, because I know they're not going to listen to me. And listen, I grew up in this town. People walk by me and say, Russ, did you retire as a paramedic? They have no clue what I can do. But at the same time, Jay, I had a family call me over to Tampa to work with their son that's already been to 4 endocrinologists with no answers. And I pulled the trigger on that, and we're working with them. We're doing amazing work, and that family's going to tell a bunch of people. So what you do, what I do, trust me, it may not happen fast enough for you, but it's getting out there, man. It's getting out there.
Yeah, no, it is. And that's the only way we can really do it. It's literally through grassroots effective change. It's crazy, dude. You're right. Absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about the book. Some of the research on space travel.
Yeah. One of the things I was talking about, I did a lot because I immersed myself in the bodybuilding field. I immersed myself as a triathlete. I was always interested in muscle wasting. So whether it's a cancer patient or a NASA flight, somebody that's spending a year in the space station, they got to worry about muscle wasting and atrophy of the heart, or they call it left ventricular hypertrophy. So your heart beats about 84,000 times a day. These guys want to go to Mars, and I read Scott Kelly's book about a year in space, a lifetime information, and I read it again. And then I went to NASA to look what they were feeding them, and I'm like, holy shit! I go, I can't have more information than NASA, not me. And I'm thinking, my God, macaroni and cheese. They're eating 6 meals a day. They're elevating insulin level. They have a real hard time with. What do they have a hard time with? With fluid. So they're in a special machine that pulls the fluid from their upper body, and they have atrophy of the heart muscle. So if Elon Musk, which I think these guys are going to be like us, Jay, the guys that, and I'm not saying we're like Elon Musk, but just the guys that come up with SpaceX, they're going to be more willing to take a chance on what you and I say than going through to traditional, nutritionists out of Harvard. Okay, we know that muscle wasting and cardiomyopathy and heart atrophy is a big part of going to Mars. Well, how do we avoid that? Well, how come they're not doing testosterone levels? Why aren't they checking the anabolics before and after somebody comes back? Why don't they even do it with mice? Why are they only doing aerobic training for 2 to 4 hours in the space station when they really should ramp the guys up muscularly? They should measure their ejection fraction before they go up. Or how about this? How about putting some muscle mass on them before they go to space? So again, I'm reading this stuff, I'm pulling the puzzle pieces together. It's all about muscle wasting. I just shot a video on the Russ Scala YouTube channel on what really causes muscle wasting. So what we can glean from that is NASA isn't even where you and I are yet. And I always find that amazing. And I'm not shooting anybody down, and I'm not saying we're rock stars or know everything, but because we immerse ourselves in 2 different fields, NASA is not doing that. I've read the book twice. I've done the research, and I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it when I get off the line with you here. I'm going back to look at another study going, I can't believe they're not, why aren't they testing DNA damage? There's a DNA test that you can measure in the urine. It's called 8-hydroxy-2-deoxyguanosine. It basically tells the DNA is being damaged. We know when these guys are up in space, the radiation is damaging DNA, no different than airline pilots. Well, why aren't they tracking that and adding antioxidants to their supplements instead of having macaroni and cheese at 2 meals while they're in space, elevating their insulin levels? What the fuck? Just saying, dude. So again, opportunity, dude, opportunity, right?
Well, Russ, when you and I talk, you bring up a lot of questions, but I can put my tinfoil hat on and I can start giving you answers. But
I know, I got you.
The reality is we are way out in front. Okay. It's, this is a personal, like you said, a personal healthcare revolution, right? Those who choose to optimize, to maximize energy, to maximize life force, to maximize everything, have all the information. They have you, they have me, they have tons of other people like us to, read and absorb the knowledge and then obviously put them into actionable strategies. But the system is just so bereft of real data. You just clearly proved that. NASA is supposed to be the, top,
Creme de la creme, right.
And they're using strategies from the 50s and 60s. They probably have Kenneth Cooper as their guidelines for, cardio, respiratory fitness. Who knows, right? But it's all backward, man. But you're right. In celebrating the good is that you can read your book, you can read my book, you can listen to your YouTube channel, you can listen to my podcasts, and you're right. You can figure this out. And you and I know that that's happening because we get emails and messages every day from people saying, hey, you saved my life. You saved my marriage, No,
we all got to make money to stay alive. And doing what you and I do when you get those emails, dude, that gives you a sense of self-worth.
Of course.
It's really good. And plus, you're really good at it. I always tell you content is the new oil. The 3 big media stations, 2, 6, and 9, the major media is going in the toilet. People are customizing their own TV. Like I said from day one, you wanted to start the TRT University. Boom! That's perfect, man. One place where everybody could go to get educated. Again, I hate bringing this up again, but you're doing what Eric Topol says in his book, The Patient Will See You Now.
Yep.
People are going to meet people like you, form communities, run their own lab work, all without a physician involved, right?
We'll talk a little bit about that, about building communities. What do you mean specifically about that?
Well, one of the things, when I was on the SWAT team and I was a medic, I was working 96-hour shifts. I was drinking like a fish. I got caught up in the juice. Got caught up in the excitement. That wasn't real healthy. The community I was around was not real healthy. When I switched over to the triathletes and I quit that job, I didn't know the damage it was causing me. So when I met a bunch of triathletes, they became my roommates. I started racing around the country in the 80s. I changed my community. And Jay, when you change your community, look at the behaviors that changed. I got up in the morning. I had a group of guys to train with. I was eating differently. I was out in the sun. I was near the water. That was the smartest thing I ever did in my life. And obviously I damaged my body racing, but that's another side. But the smartest thing I ever did in my life was go back to graduate school, quit running fucking emergency calls that were killing me because I wanted to make a difference. Bullshit. I was killing myself and everybody around me, including the physicians. We were all dying. That's why I help these guys now. And then I moved my community over to triathletes, completely different community. when I was on the SWAT team, we were training for a SWAT competition. Every cop I ever met, in their head, everybody's a criminal. That's the only way they could live. That people don't understand, when a cop walks up to do a traffic stop, his heart is about 180. He has seen every bad scenario. And you know, when your heart rate's up, Jay, and your cortisol level's up and you're low in testosterone, your prefrontal cortex doesn't work.
Done.
All right? So you wonder why these guys make mistakes or they shoot somebody. And I'm not taking any sides here. You know, I've met a lot of good cops. I met a lot of guys that was a family tradition. And I met guys that were fucking psychopaths that shouldn't be in the business. All right? So, but I know what it takes when you walk up. And I didn't want to think that way about people. When I went on the SWAT team, I had to take a Myers-Briggs personality test. They wanted to make sure I could shoot somebody in the face if I had to. And I was battling with that. And listen, I'm not talking about a hero. There's a book out there called The Psychological Uses and Abuses of Psychology in War. And they study soldiers in all kinds of battles. You know, it's really hard to get people to kill somebody. They got documentation of it. I don't think we were hardwired to kill each other.
Right.
And no, studying the effects of what happens when somebody does pull the trigger, and I've got the research, I'm going to be talking about it, they're never right. So do I want to, you know, I went on the SWAT team because I saved 3 cardiac arrests one week. I got lucky, and the cops go, you know, I want to get this guy, even though he's an asshole, I want to get this guy. If anybody, you know, if I get shot, I want him to work on me. That's kind of how it all started. So I went through the police academy thinking it would look good on a resume later on, because I didn't think I was going to be a lifer there. Like, I got promoted to lieutenant, and I had to, it's in the book, I was in my 20s, I got promoted really early, the first paramedic to get promoted to lieutenant, and I had to take care of a bunch of guys older than me, and that was an education you're never going to get in college. I mean, they made my fucking life miserable.
Right, of course.
Because paramedics were new, and we were getting paid more money than a lieutenant that had been there 20 years, good old boy, they made my life miserable. So I mentioned in the book, thank God my old man put a set of balls on me early, because I didn't take any shit from anybody. And I carry that same perspective with me today. I don't start a fight, dude. You know that, ever. But I definitely could go toe to toe with anybody in the U.S., whether it comes to neurology, cardiology, or if somebody's going to, you know, get in my face. You know, it's just what I've learned to survive. You know, and I love what we're doing now as compared to running emergency calls, man. I mean, dude, that duty is short-lived.
That is an adrenaline feast. Well, I mean, there's a lot of questions I could ask you, but let's just talk a little bit about nutrition, because I know you really are an expert on ketogenic dieting, and I think the public is clueless. I think that the majority of people who are actually quote unquote gurus who talk about, you know, utilizing ketogenic diets, they don't even know anything about a ketogenic diet. They think they do, right? They go off carbs and then they eat a bunch of fat and protein and they think they're ketogenic, but they don't realize, as you know, that the excess protein is being converted through gluconeogenesis into sugar. So they're never even ketogenic. So, I mean, I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about ketogenic dieting, like who it really benefits. Obviously, I know you guys use it in your clinical practice with a lot of people, you know, brain injury patients and stuff like that. And obviously it's got massive amounts of science. You know, Dom D'Agostino and Tim Ferriss are constantly talking to each other about ketogenic diets and the applications. And, you know, his last couple books have done great research on it. But I also know that you're at the top, you know, of the field with researching it and understanding it too. When should a ketogenic diet be used in an average population group?
Well, and that's a great question. So let's break it down. You got your bodybuilders, folks like that use it. They've been using it for years. You know, if you study anthropologists and paleophysiologists that study what people eat, we know that this diet has been popular around the world for 100,000 years. Right. So we know on a cellular level, there's essential amino acids, there are essential fatty acids, there's no essential carbohydrates. No. So our body is like a hybrid car, okay? So depending if you're a person with pathology, if you're a person that wants to do performance, or you're Joe Six-Pack, just want to get through the week and take care of your family, the ketogenic diet, intermittent fasting are tools to keep you in the game and keep you healthy. Okay, like I said, Jay, if you want to take care of diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and dementia and put a shield up, those are the things that you could do. Keep your insulin levels down. Keep your insulin levels down and keep your blood glucose down. We know, I mentioned that when you cut an apple in half, the apple gets brown, and that's oxidative stress. The other half of the apple gets sprayed with lemon juice. It doesn't get brown. That's antioxidants doing their work. So when you elevate your blood sugar, you cause a lot of oxidative stress. So just keeping your blood sugar down. The flip side of that coin is a lot of people addicted to the carbohydrates. The carbohydrates hit the same opiate pathways as heroin, just not as hard. So if I work with coaches all the time. I go, don't cut the carbs out of people's diet too fast. Don't put them on the ketogenic diet too fast. I said, look at these people. Skype with them. I said, be a therapeutic listener. Like I just got a mom, a kid just died of cancer at 2 years old. You think I'm going to put this woman on the ketogenic diet? No. If she tells me she's banging down 6 oxys a day and she's having a bagel before bed, I'm going to go, great, keep it up. Because situationally, she just lost a kid. She had a baby. She lost a baby, the same baby to cancer. Where is she? So her hormones are in the tank. Slowly over the course of the next few months, I dripped enough science on her that she trusts me, but she's one of these, the higher educated people I get, the more they think I'm batshit crazy and the more research they do. But then when they meet me and my doctors for a meeting, then I kind of get over that hurdle. So I think these diets are important, Jay, but what's even more important, nobody has the drive you or I do as a triathlete. I got up in the morning and I trained to swim 12.6 miles around the Keys. So who's going to do that? Right. So people that have a family and they got a couple of kids and they got to go to work every day, they need a coach and somebody that's not going to charge them an arm and a leg, that could get them on this diet so when they come home and they want to see their kids or they want to go to a school event, they feel better. They're not having 3 meals a day and 2 snacks in that carbohydrate haze. Want to watch TV and stay away from me, kids. I'm in a bad fucking mood,
I still laugh thinking about back in the day, and obviously I've experienced every diet, and as you know now, my book is a book on intermittent fasting. And so I'm obviously a huge faster. I also helped Lyle McDonald write the book on ketogenic dieting back in the 90s. So, 3 years straight, I did ketogenic, cyclical ketogenic, targeted ketogenic. I've done them all.
Right.
But the reality is the educational process is like you said, is the suppression of insulin. And in my upcoming book, Jim and I wrote a chapter on insulin-controlled living and why it's essential, right? And it boggles the mind, Russ, how many physicians today still, diabetic doctors, right? What do they call them? Diabeticians, right? These guys and gals have zero understanding of nutrition, like less than zero. Like most of their patients are literally eating fruit, type 2, full blown, eating 4 pieces of fruit a day, usually citrus fruit, high sugar, high fructose. And it's mind-blowing to me that so many people don't understand the very basic premise of minimizing your insulin production, right? It becomes this esoteric,
I get it.
Word.
No, I get it. And I think, one of the things I specialized in my master's program at Rollins College was how do I transfer learning to behavior in a short story format? So listen, I'm ADD and dyslexic. I get stuff really quick. I've been doing this 40 years and I'm still learning, bro.
Yeah.
I meet somebody right away and I got screens dropping in my head going, oh God, if I can't go down this, if I say anything to this guy, he's going to shoot me in the face. So I'm always thinking, what am I going to get the hook in? Because listen, look how we think. Ted Bundy wore a cast and pulled up for his victims in a Volkswagen. Completely. You ask people what a serial killer looks like. That's not what's in their head. So you get people going into a doctor. So I'm making the doctor a serial killer comparison here. Don't do that. When a person goes into that, I know, right? No, I don't want to piss off any of the doctors. A lot of my friends are doctors. But here's the deal. When a person goes into a doctor, they got this icon intimidation in their head that the doctor knows best. And that's slowly changing. And that's only going to change through content. That's like a woman that drives her kids to school every day. Now she has to take a detour. You see, our brain is hardwired for patterns. And in the patterns, we were always told the doctor has all the answers. Well, there's something called depatternization. We got to depatternize the brain. And you do it with hormone therapy, a little bit of microdosing of LSD, and some MDMA. We need to depatternize the brain, bro. And that's actually going to be important in brain rehab as well.
So are you guys, do you have, because I was actually, it's funny you mentioned that. I just read a huge article, I can't remember what it was, in one of the veterans magazines about the usages of MDMA for PTSD and obviously all the brain suffering. You know, there's so many of them. I'm really good friends with Dr. Gordon. You know, I listened to a couple of his lectures and stuff like that. And then Aaron, Andrew DeMar, you know, his guy he founded the Warriors Angel Foundation with. We have a chapter on him in the upcoming book. So do you guys use, or are you guys able to access governmental supplied MDMA for brain injury right now? Are you able to get a supply of it or no?
No, the clinical trials are on psilocybin right now. They're coming out for PTSD. But you and I both know that there's never going to be one pill or one treatment protocol. No. Okay, so what we can glean from that, Jay, like if you and I were in a room right now with a brain injury patient, whether it's from the NFL, CTE, or post-traumatic stress, whatever, and you had a neurologist over there, and we would say, Doc, let's team up on this. I know what you know. Jay knows what he knows. I know what I know. So what we would do was, multifactorially, Jay, we would ramp up his hormonal levels. Testosterone and growth hormone have a lot to do with brain-derived neurotropic factor,
for sure.
Vascular endothelial growth factor to grow new brain tissue, okay? We know that we can stimulate neurogenesis down, synaptogenesis. We know the gut plays a role. So let's work on changing the intestinal flora, optimizing his hormones. And guess what? Let's test his mitochondrial function on a cellular level, on a neuronal level. And that would be a treatment protocol that we could do. I mean, I just told you how to do it. That right there is 99%. Awesome. No, but I'm saying we could do that now, and it's not being done at the VA. So again, now again, this is, and again, I just signed, I got Nick Anderson from the Orlando Magic on my team now, and I've got a couple of other pro football players. I was supposed to meet a guy last week that he's got one of the settlements for CTE, and obviously he got sick and couldn't make it. He's been on an opium pump for a year. My point is, I'm gonna put these guys out on the tip of the spear, and I'm gonna stay in the background. I'm gonna let these guys just talk about it, bro.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need, like you, I just want to see this go viral. So all I need, I'm meeting a neurologist next week that wants to do something very innovative in his practice. And I think you will have these opportunities too. Every doctor you meet maybe has 5,000 to 10,000 patients. He's in competition with the doctor down the street. If you can set something up for him to separate him, have him maintain the competitive advantage and work out a split with him, I mean, you could do this tomorrow. So I'm working on this neurology aspect of it in town here. There's one young neurologist that's not intimidated by me that kind of likes my idea. So if I do it at one practice, I mean, you know what really motivates me? Back when I was a paramedic, there was this place in Boston where this one doctor said, fuck it, give me all the worst cases. You could be stabbed 100 times, shot 20 times. I forget the doctor's name, but he would take care of the worst places in Boston. That was ground zero for the trauma center that went viral throughout the United States just within 5 years. My feeling is, I kind of think that way, Jay. If we have one center that's a doctor that's ballsy enough to go talk at conferences, this is something that could go viral pretty quickly because it doesn't take a lot to set up. The labs are in place, the pharmacies are in place, guys like you and I are right there to pull the trigger.
Yeah, no, I mean, everything you said it's literally state of science. I mean, you're right. I mean, changing the gut microbiome, optimizing the hormone levels, thyroid, testosterone. It's simple. I mean, it gets simple to me and you, but mainstream medicine is still under the purvey, the general watchful eye of pharmaceutical companies, and big pharma still unfortunately controls the purse strings, although it is opening, and you're right. And obviously people like you, the best doctors are clearly now cash out of pocket guys. They've opted out. It's going to be interesting to see where the system goes because the system has failed. It can't get
here's a little history for you. You'll love this. Way back in the day when typhoid and polio and bacteria were killing millions of people around the world, they vilified bacteria and they came out with penicillin, and that one drug, that one pill, the one penicillin shot saved millions of lives. Amazing. Well, now fast forward to time right now, 2018. It isn't bacteria or viruses that are killing us. In fact, we know that we're made up of 90% bacteria. Yep. We need beneficial bacteria, and they're still using the same monotherapy. for heart disease, diabetes, cancer. It's either chemotherapy, a statin drug. They still got that mindset. In order to get somebody better, you got to treat systems. All right?
Amazing.
And that's kind of what you touch on with your book. That's kind of what I touch on in my story. Changing the paradigm. And there's a lot of other guys out there that are changing the. Dr. Jason Fung is on the tip of the spear with diabetes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, he's out there kicking ass and taking names, got his own video channel. So I think what I'm happy about is you and I are wrapped up in this world and we're busy, but the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is growing, dude.
Yeah, man, you're right. By the way, Jason is going to come on the podcast. I'm hopeful he's going to come on in March, but the guy's literally booked out 2 years. He's booked out 2 years. Like, he has no patient. It's just, I mean, you're right, but he's an amazing dude. I use a lot of his research in my book in the metabolic blowtorch diet. Definitely, you're right. Tip of the spear. Good guy. Actually, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I'm sorry, Jay. I'm thinking about, he's not saying anything different than you and I are. He's just on the tip of the spear getting a beating.
He's a white lab coat god, dude. He's a white lab coat god. I mean, to be honest with you, full disclosure, he has a nurse who follows me on Twitter, and she has been following me on Twitter for like 2 years. And she's been saying, like, to him, like, in closed doors, cause she meets with him like once a month. Like, I really want you to meet this guy. This guy is like, he sings your tune, you need to meet with him. And then that was before I put out the metabolic blowtorch diet book in September of last year. And she got a hold of it right away, and she took it to him and he read it. And he immediately like sent a message to her to say, set up an appointment with you. I want to talk to this guy. So she, has been kind of an intermediary for me, but it's weird, Russ. I mean, as you know, when guys like you and me doing what we do, not having the medical backgrounds, not having the MD or the, whatever acronym behind our names, it sometimes is, not disparaging, but it doesn't open the doors as the way it should. But then, of course, as you said, as soon as they get exposed to what we're doing and they read what we put out, they know that they're in the league of, like you said, the same extraordinary gentlemen. So I don't know. I feel confident about where we're going. I know you're doing an amazing job. I know that this book is an amazing book. More people need to find out about it. I'm definitely going to do some social media posting for you in the future. But again, as I always do at the end, like, how can somebody who watches this podcast right now work with you?
Well, I mean, you guys, first of all, I want to educate people, Jay. Go to the Russ Scala YouTube channel. Learn about the ketogenic diet, hormonal replacement therapy. Look at Jay and I's other video podcasts that we did. You could Google me, Scala Precision Health. I'm in Winter Park. I talk to people all over the United States, so I'm easy to find.
Yep, no doubt. And again, man, you're doing so much great stuff, for the world. And again, dude, I apologize. You and I haven't talked in a while, man. I'm sorry about your parents and everything, but it's definitely given you renewed vigor and focus and passion in your life, for sure. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it really did. I'm on a mission, man. Just watch what happens this next year, brother.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm proud to be associated with you. And again, thanks for coming on the podcast, and we will talk very soon. Okay.
Okay. Thanks.